Do you ever feel like your pitch deck is falling flat? Are you getting fewer investor responses than you would have liked? Well, in this episode of Second Opinion, we're going to invite you to change seats, to go from the startup pitching an investor audience to an investor looking at a startup's pitch for the first time ever. At Deck Doctors, we always look to create pitch decks that drive an outcome with a specific audience in mind. And so it can be really helpful to put that audience's hat on and review some pitch decks yourself. So today we're going to look at two startups who submitted their pitch deck to the Second Opinion team. We're going to look for some things that they did well, as well as some areas of improvement, and then try to walk away with some actionable takeaways that you can implement in your pitch deck journey to help drive outcomes with investors. Let's get into it. All right, first up we have Leasly, which looks like an AI phone system for multifamily housing. I imagine they're really targeting real estate tech investors, and so I think this slide definitely does the job of making it clear, if I am a real estate tech investor, that this deck is for me. The problem is that 50% of leasing office calls go unanswered, which leads to a poor tenant experience and missed leases, directly reducing property returns. Okay. It looks like the solution is an AI call bot that answers every call automatically from a tenant, generates an insights report on that call, and pings the property staff about the issue that the tenant's receiving, which really kind of makes a lot of sense. From here, it looks like their opportunity is targeting the middle of the market, so it's not individual properties, and it's certainly not the large properties. It's these small to mid-sized properties with, I guess, 5 to 150 units, which interestingly makes up a very large portion of the national rental market, almost 50%. Really cool. Why this segment? There's volume potential, there's rapid adoption and unmet needs for this specific segment, and that there's a market opportunity of, I guess, $10 billion top down or $3 billion bottoms up. We'll get back to this in a little bit. And then there's a competitive landscape. Looks like there's other AI call bots. There's an Elise AI, but it looks like they're targeting only large property management companies. There's CRM-centric solutions. There's other types of solutions. It looks like they're a little bit more tailored to the market, which is a very interesting point that I feel like might need to come a little earlier in this deck. They have a go-to-market strategy where they're targeting a specific customer type. They have pricing. They want to go for product-led growth, marketing channels. They have a scaling strategy with influencer partnerships. Very cool. They have a product roadmap of today, tomorrow, and the future. And they have what looks like a really talented team. I actually did watch this little video at the end, which I think is a really nice touch to have just a 1-minute video where you're just kind of walking through the investor what the pitch is to give them a sense of who you are. So I did watch it. This team looks awesome. And I have a couple thoughts on how to make this deck better. So right off the bat, I love that it's short. I think it hits the right points. My first reaction is always just kind of how optimized is this upfront setup? So how are we setting up the world for the solution to be the hero in the story? I think what I'm craving here is, firstly, 50% of leasing calls going unanswered, leading to a poor tenant experience, does feel a little bit more like it's leaning on the customer-focused story, the customer being the tenant, having their calls unanswered and being very frustrated with their property management teams. And the solution is for a customer that is the property management teams. So I'd love to kind of unpack this problem and how it's impacting that, really truly impacting that financial return for property managers, rather than kind of highlighting this tenant problem. What's nice about this tenant problem is that most people can get behind it. I love these, I love at least telling stories for startup solving problems that like most investors will have had or experienced in their personal life. In this case, many people have likely rented a home and very, very likely had a bad experience with their property manager at some point in their life. And so I think people can get behind this. We don't need to educate people on this. What I want to educate people on is how that's really impacting property managers in a negative way to then justify this $400 a month subscription that they'd be, needing to pay. And I think you can make that justification. So it's really just localizing the problem to the customer that you're solving the problem for. Next up, I would say that I'm really interested in this kind of perfect middle, this market opportunity that looks like it's a little bit forgotten. And it's kind of noted here on slide 7 when we have these competitors. Maybe there's a company named Elise AI that people have heard of. I personally have not heard of it. Maybe it's doing well, either it's succeeding or it's raised a lot of capital. But it very starkly is looking to be a little bit more enterprise focused with the property management kind of customer type of 600 plus units. And so if this really is a white space where something's working at the enterprise level, but nothing's quite targeting this middle market, I almost feel like that could be baked into how we discuss the problem, where we highlight that property managers are struggling to, maintain full occupancy because of bad service, and other service providers or other tech companies are looking to solve for that problem, but they're leaving this middle of the market behind. Now I'm already kind of bought into, if we have this AI call bot that's really targeted for this middle of the market, we're solving a monetizable problem for this customer, and that customer is not getting that problem solved for with other companies. And so that really kind of creates a strong argument for the need for this product. So those are a couple tips there. And then I think lastly, well, I just want to quickly touch up on this. I think the market opportunity here, number one, we are going with a little bit of a top-down and bottoms-up approach, and I'm not sure the numbers really match up. I think if we're talking about the real estate software market at large, could a phone, could an AI phone bot company uh, really penetrate 30% of that top-down software market at large? Which is kind of what we're saying with the bottoms up approach. So in general theory, investors can kind of size the market opportunity up themselves. So I'd kind of go with either or approach. I am very interested to know that there's 600,000 rental properties with 150 plus units or less than 150 units. And if we can penetrate that, that does create a $3 billion TAM. Potentially we can then talk about additional features or show how the phone AI bot leads to more, and that pricing can go up, just kind of increasing that overall market potential. But I definitely would check to make sure that these numbers don't contradict themselves. And then lastly, we have this go-to-market slide that I think is kind of interesting. It highlights a very kind of targeted market as well as pricing, but it doesn't really show how we're going to approach this market. And I think with real estate, my mind goes to, if we want to go for product-led growth, we want to go for word of mouth, potentially some sort of geographic focus makes a lot of sense to generate some buzz within a specific property market. Capitalize on the fact that property owners may know each other, or that there's some sort of network effect of the same tenant base moving to different apartment buildings and wanting to kind of engage with Leasly, to then move from a specific geography where we can prove out product market fit to then expanding geographically. So I think just highlighting tactics without an actual plan it's just an opportunity that is left uncapitalized on in this case. But overall, I think that the visual aesthetic of this deck looks really nice. I definitely always look for stronger narrative headlines, as you've seen in probably previous videos. But I think this is on the right track. Let's capture the white space. Let's pattern disrupt a little bit and then show how this thing grows. Nice job, team. Hopefully there's some tips in there for you to implement in your pitch deck. All right. Next up, we have DrDoGood, accessible and personalized healthcare. I like the title slide. The human imagery is good. The headline is makes it clear that this is healthcare. I think maybe could be more specific, but we'll find out. The problem: healthcare is difficult to access, healthcare is expensive, and it's fragmented. All sounds true with some big numbers that I think are great and help anchor this into some strong credibility. As I'm going through the text here, I'm noticing that they're talking a lot about Ghana, and so potentially this looks like it's a Ghana-specific healthcare company, which I feel like I'd like to know, maybe in a title slide or at least in some headlines. To solve the problem, they have DrDoGood, which is reshaping how you access healthcare and how your healthcare provider delivers that care. Interesting. And then their solution provides better access, more affordable care, as well as personalization of care, looking to, I guess, solve the three-pronged problem that they outlined at the beginning. Their users seem to love the product. They have customers that are patients, startups, and health facilities, as well as specialists. So maybe there's some sort of marketplace that seems to be emerging here. Oh, and traction. Wow, up into the right chart. I love what I'm seeing here. They have 25% month-on-month user growth. They've got monthly revenues. Looks like they've been providing a lot of value. This is awesome, and I like the logos down there. And they are partnered with 43 health facilities and a lot of healthcare professionals. So this is a really strong credibility building section that seems very interesting. And then they have a market size that is spend on healthcare in Ghana is at 1.8 billion. So it does look like this is really localized to Ghana. If that TAM is just for Ghana and not for all of Africa or anywhere else in the world for that matter. They have a platform fee, 15% commission on transactions. So it does look like there is a marketplace here where they're, I guess, providing a lot of value to patients as well as to healthcare professionals. They have a go-to-market strategy that looks really kind of well thought out. We'll dive into this in a little. They're better than competitors across these metrics that they have obviously self-identified. So at least this gives us a sense of where they zig, where their competitors zag, which is helpful. And then they have what looks to be a very amazing team. Some great logos, some great headshots of the team. This looks great. They have decades of combined experience, and they have a clear roadmap of where they want to go in the future and a clear ask and then a call to action. This is awesome. So first of all, I think this deck is beautiful. It definitely hits the visual aesthetic bar that I think creates an engaging appearance. It looks like it's also was done in Canva, so there's some nice kind of visualizations and some animations as we move forth. My immediate reactions are number one, I wasn't sure, I guess, until the TAM slide that this was really hyper focused on Ghana. And so then potentially that can come in the title slide. Accessible and personalized healthcare for patients and healthcare professionals in Ghana might have been a clearer way to open this up. As well, potentially could have been baked into kind of the specifics in this problem slide, although it looks like as you read deeper, it is clear kind of what the impact is in Ghana specifically. This problem slide definitely feels a little heavy. There's a lot of text for me to read, and there's a few different areas to focus on, and so potentially there's an opportunity to really unify this into something specific. And then again, I think that the solution, the one-liner, is a really great tactic to make clear what we're doing. But I do feel like this one-liner might be missing the mark because what we're saying is very high altitude. It's, that we're reshaping how you access healthcare and how your healthcare provider delivers that care. So I do see that in theory, this is showing that we're providing value to both patients as well as healthcare professionals. But what I'm curious on is really how are we doing this? Is this what looks like from the UX mock-up here, an app that you can kind of get access to telemedicine, access to healthcare professionals. Of course, I imagine, getting access in different geographic regions is an issue, and they do highlight that. So I'm a little bit more curious on less the impact here, because we talk about the impact here, but more what the product is that's going to drive these outcomes. So I think this is a good case or a good example of a deck that could leave somebody walking away a little bit unclear on what the product actually does and what it is. And so I would look to kind of unify a one-liner that very clearly outlines this is an app to handle patients' everyday healthcare needs. And then I think secondly, I think this is an amazing slide. The social proof is fantastic, especially because it's coming from customers. It shows that there's some grassroots movement or there's a lot of product love, which is really important at the early stage. But I almost feel like these two slides here, this traction slide with the up and to the right growth chart, as well as the fact that they've been partnered with healthcare facilities, lots of healthcare facilities and healthcare professionals, may do well earlier in the deck, almost as like a hook slide that essentially just basically flips this from a an aspirational story that we need to solve for healthcare access, pricing, and fragmentation in Ghana, and more that we are solving for it. We are growing a lot. And the reason we're growing is because of these issues and because we're solving these issues in a way that's really resonating with people. So it's flipping from this aspirational story to more of a winning story, and immediately grabs people's attention with credibility from the jump, gives them more of a reason to read past the first few intro slides. So I'd consider kind of moving those up. I think, all of these slides, I think, do their job. Um, I would consider, I'm not learning too much from this slide because I'm not familiar with these companies here. But I guess in theory, they're offering some form of telemedicine without all of the features down here. But I do think potentially a market map showing where you zig, where others zag in a simpler way, less about, specific features, could be just more compelling in terms of understanding where we fit in the market as well. I think we can potentially just kind of streamline this problem solution section to something more unified and really kind of open up the world for an opportunity for a marketplace, which is just not coming through as much until we kind of read through the deck. All in all, kudos to you guys and the team for a very strong deck. I do think that a deep reader will walk away with things that we're starting to walk away with. But in terms of optimizing for an audience who by nature has very short attention spans, I think we could do a little bit of a better job just moving some things around to tell this as more of a winning story. And then hopefully drive just more conversions from people that see that this is a company that's solving a needed problem in Ghana, that the market size in Ghana is large enough, and that they have a lot of traction and that the product is working. So those are a few different tips that I think could just take this over the line and hopefully just kind of help you think about things to look for when you're crafting your pitch deck. All right. All right, that was a bit of a longer second opinion episode than typical. If you stuck around to the end, hopefully you got a couple interesting tidbits to help you along your pitch deck journey. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Please like and subscribe for more. We appreciate you, and we'll talk soon. Peace.